of the crowd, the taste of blood, the crunch of bone beneath your heel. Make them tremble with fear as you stake your claim upon the battlefield. Only the strongest will survive and reap the sweet rewards of victory. Welcome to the ultimate pit fight.
This is the Enlightened Strike, a podcast where we talk about flesh and blood for just 10 minutes. I'm Daniel, and this is episode number 6, 2 Knives to a Pit Fight. I was trying to get in the mood with that introduction there, which is the intro text for the format on the Flesh and Blood official website. So I can't take credit for that bit of delicious writing. Here we are. Last week, as I said I would, I played some Ultimate Pit Fight. I also played some Classic Constructed, just went over to a friend's house, and I gotta say, this game is wildly balanced. I've played like less than 50 games of Flesh and Blood, but almost every time it feels like the games are so close. It's pretty incredible. There's not much by way of blowouts that I've experienced yet. It's pretty cool. The Classic Constructed game that I played I was piloting Bravo against Chain, and it came down to the last turn, and it was like if Chain had drawn just a little differently, he would have killed me as opposed to getting killed by his own blood debt, which is always a treat when you're on the other end of that. But today I want to talk about the Ultimate Pit Fight experience that I had and kind of dive into what I thought about that. Just to review how the format works, and this is coming from the FabTCG website. It is a multiplayer format, obviously. It's an open format where all cards can be played, and it's also, this is important, a social format. So politics, intrigue, backstabbery, alliances, and laughter are encouraged. That's so sweet. Backstabbery and laughter. It's not often you see both of those in the same sentence. One thing that my playgroup and I actually got wrong is that players start with a 60 card deck as opposed to a 40 card deck. You are using young heroes with the lower life totals, but it's not just throwing in a blitz deck because the deck can contain up to 3 copies of each card. So it's kind of interesting. We didn't realize this. We just thought it was blitz decks because of the life total, but apparently it's like a third format in terms of deck size, which feels a little annoying just because it's a third deck to build. I guess you could take 20 cards out of your Classic Constructed deck and flip your hero over. I suppose that works, so I won't make any too harsh of judgment until I try that version of it, as opposed to just using a blitz deck, which feels very convenient. Some important rules for the gameplay. You can only attack players to your immediate left or right. And you can only target heroes to your immediate left or right. So let's say you're rocking Kano, you can't just zap people across the table that you couldn't otherwise attack. You can only defend yourself, and a combat chain targets a single player. They also say that you can mess with the rules however you want. So if you want to just use blitz decks, go ahead. No one's going to stop you. One thing they don't specify is how many players you can have. 4, I think, is probably ideal, but you could have 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't imagine that would be as fun, though. Speaking from Commander experience in Magic, 4 is basically the sweet spot. Anything more than that is there's just too much going on. Maybe with the only being able to attack left or right, that kind of tightens the sphere of battle for you. I'm not sure. I'd be interested to try an 8-player game, maybe at a calling or something. This episode is called 2 Knives to a Pit Fight because I was piloting Kasai with her Centauri Sabers, so it kind of works as a title for an episode. I mainly just thought it sounded cool. The other heroes at the table, starting to my immediate left, were Ira, Kavdane, and Bolton. The goal of my Kasai deck is essentially just to cast cash in for free. Like, if I can do that and draw 2 cards, I feel like I've won. So that's where I was coming from stepping into this game. And it's kind of funny because Cavdane's ability helped me get there a little bit. I'll read Cavdane's ability just to refresh, because I don't know if anyone plays him too much. So he's got once per turn action. He can pay 3 resources. And it says, if a hero has more life than any other hero, they lose a life and create a copper token. Then, if a hero has less life than any other hero, they gain 1 life, and that's it. Essentially, how this works out in a multiplayer sphere is one player is getting left out of one of those effects each time. So it's this really kind of fun thing where the life totals are going up and down and almost staying together as it brings the top down and the bottom up. It's kind of fun. I was really curious to see how the game would feel with 4 players, and if there would be like a thing where one player just got ganged up on and never really had a chance to recover. But because of the only being able to attack to your left and right, that player always does have a chance to reload their hand, even if they're not going to have a good attack turn. So you could, in theory, gang up, 2 players could gang up on somebody in a corner, but then they're going to be exposed to the next person over. There was a really nice ebb and flow to the game where anytime there was a player who was a little higher on life, that was just the obvious target for whoever was sitting next to them. It never felt like there was like a 2v2 situation, which you could do. You could make it into that, and it could be fun. But it felt very even throughout for the most part. Because of the limitation of immediate left and right, it kind of created this almost like visceral sense of space, like this pit fight thing. Like, we're in this arena and I'm fighting off these 2 that are closest to me. I don't know. There's something about that. It almost maybe even felt like a bar fight. There was just something about it that was very scrappy and exciting. And once again, overall, going back to what I mentioned at the start of the episode, it felt very balanced. We all were just slowly climbing down into oblivion together. And it came down to the very last turn when Ira and Cavdane were the last 2 left, and Ira won. Ira Kadachi'd her way to victory, but it was very close. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the political aspect of the game. And I know this isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, which is totally fine, but it was a little more nuanced than just making deals with people. I feel like we didn't make any outright deals, but there were a lot of cards that came into play that shifted the way the table acted. Some cards that stood out, and this is kind of an obvious one, but I finally got to play Coax a Commotion, and I chose to give everyone a Quicken token, mainly for the benefit for me, because I really wanted to go again with my weapons. But it was this interesting thing where then Ira to my left chose not to attack me, because it was like a little gift that I had given. Now it did come back to bite me, because then Bolton had a go again to my right and went ahead and attacked me. So it didn't entirely work out, but it was very fun to see that card in action, and kind of it changes the landscape of the game. Cavdane was also fascinating to see, because he almost acted like the peacemaker of the group, just kind of keeping everybody in check, helping some out, hurting others. It was pretty cool. Of note, Scar for Scar gets better, because you're checking the life total of all the heroes at the table. Even if you're attacking a hero with less life than you, you can still get that go again benefit, which is a very nice discovery. Another card to think about is Sigil of Solace. Just like in Blitz, that 3 life at instant speed is pretty nice. However, there was a moment where Ira played 2 of them in a row, and granted, she ended up winning the game, but it made her public enemy number 1 very quickly, because we were all so close in life. Getting that 6 life swing was just like, okay, time to take her down. So just something to think about too when you're gaining life. You want to look like you're downtrodden. You want to look like you're getting beat up on. And Sigil of Solace, while a great card, provides you with a target on your back. So overall thoughts, it was very fun. I'm excited to do it again. Even though I didn't win, I felt like it was a victory for a number of ways. One, just it was an enjoyable session at the table. It was fun to see the four different heroes kind of playing off one another and just seeing how the landscape of the battlefield changed based on their abilities. I did get to play cash in by sacrificing 4 coppers, which just felt so good. So in that, I was victorious. I'm really excited to see where creativity and deck building and hero choice can inform the format and just be a place for people to play around with stuff. I think there's an episode about identity and self-expression and deck building coming up, but we'll see. I think that's all for today. I'd be fascinated to hear about your ultimate pit fight experiences if you've had them. If not, and you want to, what's stopping you? Oh, a pandemic? Okay, that's fair. But if you get a chance, try it out. Let me know how it goes. We'll see you next time. If you want to reach out, you can find us on Twitter and Gmail at eStrikeCast.